This Arsenal-Spurs game then, Sunday 2:00. Michael, if you're Ange Postecoglou watching Wednesday night's game, what do you do?
Well, I suppose you would say he'd be scared about using a high line and trying to press high, but I think that is the way that he wants Tottenham to play. So I think they will continue to do that. I think in times Tottenham have got a bit carried away in this fixture at the Emirates. There was certainly a game under Nuno where they just went like crazy high pressing and left the defence completely exposed in the first 15 minutes. So they've got to be wary of that. But then that said, Arsenal were conceding lots of goals in the early periods, so maybe they'll feel that's the time to catch him out. But yeah, I don't think he'll make many concessions in terms of his general philosophy. But I'm looking forward to this game. And one of the interesting things about this fixture is it's the Premier League fixture where home advantage counts for most either way.
Yeah.
So in the last...
How low can you go?
I just activated inadvertently the kind of vertical hold on my swivel chair with predictably hilarious consequences. Anyway.
So in the last 12 seasons of this fixture, there have been 16 home wins, 6 draws, and only 2 away wins. And that's across 4 different stadiums as well, including Tottenham's 2 different White Hart Lane incarnations.
It's also the fixture where the team scoring first has thrown away points most often as well.
Is that right?
I mean, I think we've mentioned this before on the pod, but of all the Premier League derbies, I think this is the most consistently entertaining one. Liverpool Manchester United games, rivalry rather than derby, but they can often be quite better recently, but historically there have been some absolutely terrible ones. But I think the North London derby is just consistently pretty chaotic and really fun.
Unless you're a Spurs fan, because they've only certainly the away games against Arsenal, only 2 victories since the Premier League began, 1993 and 2010. Spurs, though, I mentioned Kane not being on the score sheet on Sunday. After selling your best player, you make the best start since 1965 that you've had to a season. That's pretty remarkable. Are they playing better without Harry Kane? Because that's what the numbers suggest.
I'm not sure they are playing better without him. The results have been excellent. And they have adjusted. I mean, it's the classic thing to say, but you're never going to replace them individually. Various players have got to step up, and I think so far that's happened. I mean, Son scored that hat-trick. Maddison started very well, and Richarlison has now got off the mark. So, weirdly, I'm not looking at Tottenham and thinking, oh, Harry Kane's not there. It's been really impressive.
Much better than I thought anyone would have hoped for at this point in the season. Completely a new system compared to what they played the last 4 years under Jose and then Antonio Conte. And it's so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think for neutrals, certainly, but even for Spurs fans, because they know they're unlikely to win big trophies in the grand scheme of things, but at least play a bit entertaining football that you come home and feel happy about, and not this dross that's been served up for the last half a decade nearly.
Yeah, I mean, last few seasons when it was a Spurs game, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, we'll get through it and we'll reassess afterwards. But yeah, it's just fun at the moment. I think that they've had such a good start that they've kind of got a free hit, if such a thing can exist at Arsenal. They can, they might get caught out and they might lose 3-0, 4-0. Unlikely, but they might. But I think the fans they'd be annoyed, obviously, but they wouldn't be distraught about it because there's tangible progress. And just on the best player sort of thing, think back to like Liverpool in 1987-88, they sold Ian Rush to Juventus and everyone thought that would be an issue, and they put in probably one of the best seasons in English club football. So sometimes teams can sort of subtly become over-reliant on a player, and removing that player does make everyone else step up.
Is there a case that this is the biggest North London derby in years, with these 2 teams tied just 2 points behind Man City, both unbeaten?
No, it's too early for that in the season, James. Sorry.
Come on. All right. Anyway,
dial down the hype.
I mean, there was a really big one a couple of years ago with Champions League qualification on the line.
Oh yeah,
2 games from the end of the season. So
that lasagna one, was that?
That was one.
Yeah.
That's going back a long time. But I just wanted to make a point about Son because we found out in the off-season that he'd been carrying an injury, and it explains a lot why he was so underwhelming, because his usual output is so high, especially when it comes to shooting. One of the best finishers in European football, and a lot of that wasn't there last season. So I think it's not so much about Kane not being there, but actually Son being fully back. If you want to reduce it down to one player, I would say Son being Son again has brought out the Son.
They lost their daddy, but now the son's back.
Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah.
Was that a Big Daddy Kane reference?
Yeah.
All right, nice. Super. All right. Well, that's entertaining enough. Who's going to win this game, Michael? You love predictions.
Well, with the stats I've just said, I'm going to go for a home win.
All right.
A
Good
nice,
Lord.
juicy 3-3 draw.
Whoa. Excellent. Hello there. If you've enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to this channel? The Totally Football Show podcast is available 3 times a week, bringing you all the football news you could reasonably be expected to care about. We've got views, we've got stats, we've got analysis, we've got some of the best football writers around, and the whole thing is absolutely free. So have a listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or all the usual places by clicking on the link below.